Tottenham Hotspur's transfer window has well and truly gotten underway in the last 24 or so hours with three pieces of big news about players that Tottenham are looking to sign, as well as within one of those stories, news of a potential imminent departure. Before we get into the news on Bryan Gil, Cristian Romero, Pierluigi Gollini, and Eric Lamela, do make sure to hit that like button if you're happy that Paratici is finally getting working at Spurs, and make sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you are new, as we look to hit 10k before the season starts. And let's dive straight into this newest bit of news from Fabrizio Romano in the last half an hour or so, and that is that Sevilla and Tottenham are finalising a swap deal that would see 20-year-old Bryan Gil join Spurs, with Eric Lamela and €25 million going in the opposite direction. This is one that I've seen a lot of Spurs fans get excited about on Twitter. Personally, I didn't know too much about the player before this started, but what I've read in the last 20 or 25 minutes, what I've researched myself, this is a very exciting player that Tottenham could potentially be getting. As I said, only 20 years of age, and I'm a fan of Lamela, as anybody who watches this channel will know. He's not the best player for Spurs, and it's probably best that we are getting a piece of deadwood out. But a new right winger, Bryan Gil, according to Fabrizio Romano, says here we go soon, will be coming into Spurs. Now, who is Bryan Gil? So I know a lot of people, as I didn't, may not know who he is. Well, he's a 20-year-old right winger who plays with Sevilla. He was on loan at Leganés in 2020, and last season also spent some time on loan at Eibar, where he had 4 goals and 3 assists in La Liga. Not the most impressive stat, but anything else you read about him, anything else you look at him, he is an incredibly talented footballer. I see a lot of people in the chat getting excited talking about some compilations. There are some compilations on YouTube where he does look a very exciting prospect. Of course, you can't, completely look into those and completely take those as gospel, because at the end of the day, those will be his best moments. But I saw a quick thread on Twitter from Ryan Benson, at Ryan Benson, stats reform and Opta analyst, fan of Sevilla as well, who, in response to this news that Spurs are looking to bring in Bryan Gil, he said, "This is so disappointing if true," again, as a Sevilla fan. He said, "Granted, my hopes of Bryan sticking around were low because he's not the type of winger Lopetegui likes, but he's already more comfortably more talented than any other Sevilla winger, and Eric Lamela for that matter. For any uninitiated Spurs fans interested, Bryan's quite an old-fashioned left winger in that he's all about beating his man and getting a cross or shot away ASAP. He's a very good dribbler and combines that with real tenacity. He works his butt off and is very persistent. He's left-footed and plays on the left. I've seen other things say that he does perhaps play on the right as well, which is kind of the quote problem for Lopetegui, who almost exclusively plays or asks for inverted wingers, which may be where Gill could have played a bit on the right-hand side as the left-footed player. Assuming he adapts well to English football, and I'd expect him to on account of his tenacity, he'll be a mega signing." That coming from a stats performance Opta analyst and Sevilla fan, again at Ryan Benson on Twitter, a massive fan of Bryan Gil. Could be an incredible signing for Spurs. Shane, good to see in the live chat, says just here for a laugh. Well, it's good news today, Shane. So there'll be no laughs for opposition fans. BreakingTheLines.com have also done an analysis of Bryan Gil, and again, it's so much positivity around the place with regards to this. Some of his stats last season, not the best in the world, as I mentioned, but he's playing in an Eibar side who, for a lot of the season, really struggled in La Liga, and a player on loan, perhaps not going to get every single minute. I think he made 28 appearances. But a quick synopsis of this: they said, ever since becoming the first player born in the 21st century to score in La Liga, Bryan Gil has been much talked about as a potential superstar, but it wasn't until this season that he displayed his potential at the highest level. In his first loan stint at Leganés, he played for just 558 minutes in 12 league appearances. Even then, it wasn't hard to notice him, as he would glide down the pitch with the ball at his feet, showing no signs of slowing down. However, it was the move to Eibar which made the 20-year-old Spaniard really hit the radar of all the big clubs in Spain and beyond. As a left-footed player playing on the left flank, Gill is one of the rare players who plays as a classic winger in this modern age. This season, Gill has managed to attract the attention of Barcelona and Real Madrid, among several others. So let's break down what makes him such an exciting prospect. And the main thing that I'm seeing there, the key aspect of this, is he's an old-fashioned winger. His style has been likened by Marca to Johan Cruyff. He is such an exciting player, and I have to say, I had heard his name and stuff, but I didn't really realise the exact level and caliber of the potential that he had. We'll take a quick look. His off the ball movement is something that between the lines or breaking the lines are really impressed with. And we'll just get another quick quote there. His on the ball ability. They say Bryan Gil is an extremely talented player on the ball. One of his greatest strengths is his ability to deliver dangerous crosses into the box from different areas of the pitch. This part of his game really stands out because Ibar usually go with a 4-4-2 setup, allowing 2 target men up top. Now that is something that Spurs could be playing next season. We're hearing talk of potential 3 at the back, potential 4 at the back, and a potential duo up top. With the way we started in pre-season, perhaps it could be a 4 at the back, and if we do get Danny Ings or another striker in as well, it could be 2 up top with Harry Kane. Thank you to everyone who is subscribing. I see them flying in there at the moment. Do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and as Spurs Savage says, hit that like button as well. But if we are playing a 4-4-2 or anything with the 2 up top, it's something that Gill is immediately accustomed to and will suit very well. With regards to Ibar in that 4-4-2, as a result, they can easily overload the box with quality players as the ball goes wide, allowing for a promising attack. This is why Gill's role is limited to receiving the ball wide, winning 1v1s and delivering crosses into the box for forwards, and the 20-year-old does his job really well. And I have a few examples there. When the stream's over, I'll link this article for anybody who does want to go and check it out, but I will have a stream later with Alex, the Euro expert, who is immediately, as this news broke, I can see he's a massive fan of Bryan Gil, and of course a good friend of the channel. He'll be on to tell us everything we need to know about Gill. Brad Matthews with the £5 super chat. Brad, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Says, hi Matt, trying not to get too excited. Been here before. Hopefully I'm wrong. And look, to be honest, Fabrizio Romano said this to me on the channel yesterday. He said, look, we know Romano or Paratici, he likes to work on many different transfers at once. We've seen that with the centre-back situation with Jules Koundé, with Raphael Varane, someone we're apparently interested in, and Maxence Lacroix, Takahiro Tomiyasu, and of course Cristian Romero, who we're going to discuss in this stream as well. But what Romano said to me was, just because there are 5, 6, 7 players in the media doesn't mean that's the one we're going to sign, or doesn't mean that's the one that Paratici is going to aim for. He said that you can see a lot in the media that will throw people off the scent of a deal being done behind the scenes for certain players, and it was done behind the scenes so well that even Romano didn't know about this one, because we were talking about attackers, we were talking about forward players yesterday, and he said that's not the focus, it's getting defenders in, and then all of a sudden he has this exclusive, which again is just testament to the incredible journalism that he is responsible for. But Brad, I think when we're getting a here we go soon from Fabrizio Romano, I think this is one to get excited about. Owen Killian says, Terry, keep Matt listening from work. Owen, good to see you in the live chat and keep him well. This news definitely helping the love of Spurs. Aaron says he's likened to David Silva too, not too shabby comparisons. And Bradley says, if we get these deals done, then what a job the sporting director has done. What a job indeed. Again, such an exciting player here in Bryan Gil. I'm going to talk about Pierluigi Gollini in a second and bring you a clip from the show yesterday where Romano was waxing lyrical about him. But one more thing I want to say about Bryan Gil is in the Ibar system, wide players aren't always required to press high, but Gill does press with intensity when a trigger is activated. Some of them include the poor receiving position of the defender, receiving with the back to goal and switching flanks, and there's a few examples there where Bryan Gil, as you can see in the player profiles going through beside me, his defensive work rate is something that he's really known for. Some places he can improve as a 20-year-old. You can, you know, there's going to be things that he can improve on. Running into space. Says here, as mentioned before, Bryan Gil always looks to occupy the flank and provide width. As a result, he rarely attempts to make threatening runs between the fullback and the centre back, even when the opportunity is available. So that's something maybe he could improve on, and hope to bring to Spurs in the future. And his physical strength and aerial ability, standing at just 5'9", the Spaniard does not stand out for his physical attributes. He's often muscled off the ball and fails to win most of his aerial duels. This is not a massive problem since his current role does not require him to take part in aerial duels anyway. However, it could have a potential effect on him in the future. Now, speaking of the future, this is what Breaking the Lines had to say about what his future holds. It said, currently, it's done a few weeks ago or a few months ago, currently on loan from Sevilla, Bryan Gil has had a breakout season playing for Ibar. This has earned him interest from the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, and get this, Arsenal, among others. But the Spaniard needs to polish his game and find his identity on the pitch before he can make that big move. Bryan Gil is one of the very few orthodox wingers in the game right now, and very few teams currently employ that role since overlapping fullbacks have taken over. Having said that, playing this role for Ibar, it does look like his creative ability has been restricted. So what role may suit Bryan Gil's attributes best? And as I was mentioning earlier, with regards to him being a right winger, this is what they say. Playing at the right flank might be a good move at some point in Bryan Gil's career, as it would allow him to channel his creative side a lot more. On a few occasions where he has made some advances on the right flank, he's looked very encouraging, and there's a few examples there. So if he goes out on our right hand side, we could have, of course, Heung-min Son on the left hand side, and Gill, the way he could work a lot better with overlapping fullbacks, because if he's a left footed player on the left hand side, he's going to want to bring the ball onto his left foot. So if, for example, he has Sergio Reguilon bombing down his left side, they're going to run into each other, and any defender who is tracking a run from Reguilon will accidentally end up tackling Bryan Gil or getting in his way, which could stunt his creativity. However, if he's playing down the right hand side and he gets the ball on the right flank and Matt Doherty is bombing down his side, to get it onto his left foot, he needs to go the other way. So Matt Doherty, by dragging a player further down, he can get in the way of that, or he can attract the attention of the defender and open up that space in the inside for Gill, where he can put in a whipping cross to the back post or even take a shot. So this is a very exciting signing, and if he plays on the right hand side, I think it becomes even more exciting. Now, as I said, we will be talking to Alex, the Euro expert, at 7 p.m. tonight on this channel to get more of an insight into Gill from a fan of the player and from an expert on European football as well. So what we are going to touch on now is the Pierluigi Gollini, the state of that deal at the moment. And Alistair Gold said it was about 21 hours ago at this stage. He announced that Spurs were in advanced talks with Atalanta over Pierluigi Gollini and Cristian Romero. Now we'll leave Romero for a second because there's been more updates on Gallini, and that was from Fabrizio Romano last night when he said Pierluigi Gollini to Spurs, here we go. So this is one that we are expecting to see done. As I understand it, Spurs are hoping to finalise this deal before the end of the month, which will of course be within the next days. A quick start, we have a super chat there from Kendai. It says, Matt, do you see Gill going straight into the starting 11 or him having to adapt first? It would depend on what other wingers we get out. I think if Lucas, Bergwijn, if they end up moving on, I think there's more of a chance there for Gill to get into the starting 11. But from what I'm reading, from what I'm seeing already, I think he's able to go straight in there. But you wouldn't want to throw him into the deep end too soon. You may need to give him a few weeks or a few months to acclimatise and then start to get the best out of him. But on Gallini, Fabrizio Romano said, of course, Pierluigi Gollini to Spurs, here we go. There's been a lot of talk on what this deal actually entails, and Gianluca Di Marzio was the first who was talking about this a few days ago, and he said the way it's shaping up now is that it's going to be an initial year-long loan deal with an option for a second year and then an option or an obligation to buy, and that seems to be the way the general reports are going at the moment, that it will be an initial loan deal then with the option or obligation to buy for Spurs. Bobby makes a good point, says Gallini is a Champions League player. Do you think he'll come in as a second fiddle to Hugo? And look, the fact that this deal is done, or it's reportedly done. I know Gallini actually liked Fabrizio Romano's Instagram post saying here we go. So he basically himself has confirmed this is one that could happen. I don't think Spurs will bring him in to replace Lloris immediately. So he probably has been told, look, initially you're not going to be the man. And Bobby, as I said in our live chat, in our group chat a while ago, I think it could be similar to the way Lloris replaced Brad Friedel, in that Friedel starts the season and they slowly start to change places and eventually the handover is complete. But I think it could be towards the end of this season or maybe even the start of next season before Gallini does become our starting goalkeeper. But what I'm going to bring quickly is some quotes. Of course, Fabrizio Romano was on the channel yesterday. We were talking about this Gallini deal before it actually became a here we go. And Romano was waxing lyrical about Gallini. This is what he had to say.
Many clubs from Spain, from Italy have been asking for this goalkeeper because he's been one of the best goalkeepers in Serie A for many years. Has been also in the national team. Then he had some problems with the manager Gasperini, and that's why Atalanta decided to go for Musso, for another goalkeeper from Udinese. Now Gollini is one of the biggest opportunities on the market, and Fabio Paratici is always keen on the big opportunities. As I said, it's not only Tottenham, but for sure Tottenham are in the race. They had contact with the player. He was already playing in the Premier League because he started his career at Manchester United Academy, and then he was moving to Aston Villa in Championship. So he's always been close to English football, and he will love to be back at top level in English football. So let's see if Tottenham can find an agreement with Atalanta, if any other club will jump in the deal. But I can confirm that he is one of the potential options for Tottenham this summer. And in my opinion, it would be really interesting because I remember one year ago or 2 years ago, Inter, Roma, many clubs, also AC Milan, wanted to sign Gollini, and Atalanta were asking for 30 or 35 million euro. Now is a big opportunity because they signed another goalkeeper, and so Gollini is on the market, and would be really, really interesting for Tottenham to sign this kind of player.
So a few things there to touch on from what Romano said, and could in some way answer Bobby's concerns there as well. And Aaron as well saying, does it worry you, Matt, about the cheapness of the deal and Atalanta's willingness to let Gallini go? Is he highly rated? Look, you can see from that he is certainly highly rated. And within that, there's two reasons that you can see why this may happen. The first one is Gallini's issues with the head coach and Gasperini. That's could become unbearable for any player if he doesn't quite get on with the head coach of the club. So that could be one of the reasons. And then their signing of Musso last season as well. They have another keeper there. They're ready to go. They essentially have a replacement already. He may have been told he's going to be second choice at Atalanta, so maybe being second choice at Tottenham is just a better, more exciting proposal for him. Quickly looking at his strengths, you're actually up there beside me. His long passing ability is absolutely fantastic. His distribution is really, really good, and he plays as a keeper sweeper as well. So he very much is, I suppose, the opposite to Bryan Gil in being a classic winger. Gallini is definitely a modern day goalkeeper. Really, really highly rated. Was fantastic at Atalanta last season. He made 28 appearances, or 25 appearances in the league, 3 in the Champions League. I apologize for the background noise there. And 4 in the Coppa Italia as well. And he just impressed all round. And Atalanta, for the last couple of years, maybe before the last 12 or so months, or the years before that, they were seen as the entertainers in Europe. And this is something I've spoken quite a bit about, especially when we had those links with Gasperini as our new head coach. They were the entertainers of Europe. They were the highest scorers season after season after season. But they didn't win anything because they conceded so often. So they could go out and they could score 4 or 5 goals, but they concede 2 or 3. Or they might go out and score 2 or 3, but then they concede 3 or 4. And what happened was they brought in Gallini and they brought in Romero, and immediately things shored up and they became a lot more pragmatic in that they didn't really have to go out and score as many goals, but they became a lot more sure about themselves in the back and started conceding fewer and fewer goals. So it's important that Tottenham are looking at a very impressive goalkeeper and a very impressive defender, but when you combine the two together in ones that have played together and have already transformed another team from a very, very leaky defence to a very assured, compact defence that has some of the best numbers in Italy, it becomes even more exciting. So Gallini to Spurs, here we go. I was going to go and get the direct words from Fabrizio Romano on the Gallini deal as he put it out last night, if I can find them. He said, Tottenham are set to sign Pierluigi Gollini from Atalanta as new goalkeeper, confirmed, and here we go. Details: a loan until 2022, an option to extend the loan until 2023, plus then a buy option for Spurs at €15 million. So an initial 1-year loan deal, potentially 2-year loan deal, and then the option to buy. So in 2 years' time, this could become permanent. That's what Romano says. Buy option could become obligation in case of some targets achieved. Now the typical ones with that is Champions League qualification or stuff like that. I know when we signed Giovanni Lo Celso, it was of course on an initial loan deal with an obligation to buy if Spurs qualified for the Champions League. So effectively what that is protecting Spurs' financial sort of assets and their own financial situation, because if we, let's say for example, I know this is an extreme scenario, it's not going to happen, but this is the kind of the best example I can give of why this happens. If Spurs go and say, yeah, we'll sign him on a 2-year loan deal and we'll obligation to buy for €50 million in 2 years. If something bizarre happens and Spurs end up down in the League 2, if we get points deductions or break FFP rules, whatever it is, we're then in a situation where financially that could destroy the club. But I know it's not going to get to that extent and it's not going to be that extreme, but that is kind of the general reason why this happens. It's if we're in a position where, if we get into the Champions League, we're going to have 50 million to buy a keeper. So if it's making sure we're in a position where we can buy that. So that is why it is an option to become an obligation if certain criteria, if certain targets are met. And that is where Spurs currently lie on that one. It is here we go. He himself liked that deal, or liked the post from Romano on Instagram saying that it's going to happen. Expected to be done within the month. Romano also did give us an update on Takehiro Tomiyasu, who we're only going to touch on very briefly. Bologna director Riccardo Bigon said to Sky Sports, "We're not in a rush to sell Tomiyasu. Tottenham made a bid, it's true, but many clubs are interested. He's tempted by the Premier League chance. We're going to wait for good conditions." It was initially hoped that this deal will be finalised before the Olympics. Alistair Gold put a bit of a dampener on that last week when he said that's not expected to happen. However, the Olympics themselves are now in doubt with a number of COVID outbreaks within the Olympic Village. The Olympics could be cancelled, which would of course really fast track this deal. And we could potentially see that happen a bit sooner. Danny Kiriakou says, Mr. Goat Hayes. Danny, good to see you in the live chat. Spurs 6 says, Matty Hayes, that Brian Daigle chant continuing to catch on. Good to see all of you in the live chat as well. I hate Marmot says, Matty, are you ill? I am. But look, a bit of an illness isn't going to stop me from talking Spurs transfers. Now, Cristian Romero, that is the next one that we're going to talk about. And it was an update from Alistair Gold yesterday, who said within that same report that Tottenham are in advanced talks with Atalanta over Gallini and Romero. Now it is understood that this Romero deal is way further back on the path of getting done than this Gallini deal. We're nowhere near here we go for Romero, but we are in advanced talks according to Gold. And we just quickly look at what Alistair Gold had to say, if I can find it here. So heavily linked with Lyon's Joachim Andersen and Sevilla's Jules Koundé, Paratici is believed to have a very strong interest in Romero. who he signed for Juventus from Genoa in 2019. Paratici's way of working in the transfer market is to negotiate for up to 10 players for each position he wants to fill in a squad, and the Argentina international is believed to be the current leading contender of the defenders he has looked at to come through the door as Spurs continue to revamp their back line. Joining Juventus in 2019 from Genoa before returning to them on loan last September, the 23-year-old signed a 2-year loan deal with Atalanta, who have the option to buy the player for €60 million. Now, a lot of people looked at that, talking about the fact he's on loan at Atalanta. It's going to make a deal for Spurs impossible. That's not the case. I see a few questions there about outgoings and Lamela. We'll talk about those in a second. Danny, here we go soon, as what Romano said. I do think that one will happen. I think it'll go ahead. So people look at this. Romero is currently technically a Juventus player on loan at Atalanta. It's a 2-year loan deal signed last year with an option to buy for €16 million, which is £13.8 million. Now, the reason why Spurs are in negotiations with Atalanta over this deal and not Juventus is Atalanta have the opportunity to trigger that option to buy today. So in this transfer window, they can do that. So essentially, why Spurs are negotiating with them is, let's say, for example, Spurs go in with a €25 million bid to Atalanta for Romero. They then, if they wish to accept that, they then will trigger the buy option in their deal with Juventus, sign him for €16 million, and immediately sell him on to Spurs for 25 million. Sorry. So he isn't actually Atalanta's player, but if they get a bid that they like, they will make him their player and then sell him on immediately for that profit. So that is why we are negotiating with Atalanta and not Juventus. And Gold says something similar. He says, it is believed that Atalanta will exercise their option to purchase the talented player a year early, with Paratici then in negotiations with the Italian side to sell to Tottenham for a generous profit. A key part of their defence as he played his role in the team finishing third in the Serie A last season. Romero then tasted Copa America success at the end of the campaign as he helped Argentina defeat Brazil in the final. A player who was quick, good in the air and a leader, Romero, who was Serie A Defender of the Year last term, takes plenty of boxes for Tottenham, and his versatility would also boost Espirito Santo's side. Capable of playing either side in a back two or in the middle of a three-man defence, the Argentine international can also operate as a right back. What a signing this would be. Like I said, it is further behind than the Gallini deal. We're nowhere near here we go for that. It is just advanced talks, and it is, for the reasons I outlined a minute ago, it is a much more complicated deal and one that could take a lot longer to get done. But Serie A defender of the season, that means last season he was better than Milan Skriniar. Skriniar, who Spurs have been interested in for 18 months, who are being outpriced for. Romero had a better season last year. He had the most interceptions in Serie A, and as I said, with regards to Gallini, he played a big part in transforming that Atalanta defence to what it is today, rather than the entertainers of Europe. They are now a more compact defence, finishing third in Serie A last season. The concern, again, as it seems to be with every signing for Spurs, is that he's currently in a Champions League side, and the difference between Romero and Gallini is that Romero starts and plays consistently and will continue to be that next season if he stays. But want to keep an eye on their Spurs in advanced talks to sign Cristian Romero from Atalanta. People asking, of course, about Eric Lamela. Just to touch on that briefly, as I did, talking about the Bryan Gil deal. Tottenham's deal to sign Bryan Gil is a swap deal with Eric Lamela with €25 million plus add-ons also going the way of Sevilla. So if this deal does go through, as we get Here We Go Soon, as it's expected to, Eric Lamela will be leaving Tottenham after, 8 years of the club now. He will be joining Sevilla in La Liga, and I've no doubt he'll do well there. He'll be a fantastic player for Sevilla, and I wish him the best of luck there. It's sad to see him go at Spurs, but it's probably the time for it to happen. He never quite became the player that we wanted him to become when we signed him from Roma in 2013, but Eric Lamela will be leaving Tottenham. He will be joining Sevilla whenever this Bryan Gil deal gets done. And that's pretty much it. Quite a bit to get through there. Tony Young saying, any news on outgoings aside from Eric Lamela? Nothing concrete and no recent updates. We know the usual ones. Alderweireld wants to go. He wants Royal Antwerp, and the rumours about Harry Kane, of course, as well. But aside from that, there's no concrete news on any potential outgoings. Jack Legros says, here we go, about time, come on you Spurs. And that's, here we are, we're at it, here we go. We're looking to get some signings in. There's so many people subscribing. Maxime, Kusa, Jack, Tegu, Putapong, Zilik, Neil, Miklias, Ash Ketchum, David Wright, Max, Kazu, Mughal, Jack, Theo, hello everyone, Ensar. Thank you all so much to all of you for subscribing. I do appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, do make sure to do that. Caleb is there saying, who is Bryan Gil? I'm going to end the stream now, Caleb, but if you want to look back to the start, I gave a quick insight into Bryan Gil. But I will be live at 7 o'clock this evening with Alex, the Euro expert, to get a deep analysis of Bryan Gil and what exactly he could bring to Spurs and how exciting the signing is and the potential it could have. So do come back at 7 if you want that analysis. But if you want a quick, brief overlook, go back to the start of the stream and it'll be there for you. Tony Young, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. Everyone, do make sure to hit a like on the stream if you're happy with the transfer news that we're getting for a change. We're on 127 with 600 people watching. So let's get that up to 200. It will be absolutely incredible. Aaron says, Maddie, what's your catchphrase? I'll have to come up with one. I'll have to come up with a catchphrase soon. It's not going to be... I know there's some journalist at the moment who's trying to make his catchphrase "There we go" for transfers, and I don't think that's going to go down particularly well. But I'll have to come up with a catchphrase very soon. That's for sure. But look, hit that like button if you have enjoyed the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I know I always say it, but we are on the road to 10k before the season starts. It would mean so much to me to get there. We're now 205 away. With over 50 people subscribing in this stream, so please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Back at 7 o'clock, as I said, with Alex, the Euro expert, and so much breaking news throughout the week as Spurs look to get deals done for Pierluigi Gollini, Bryan Gil, and Cristian Romero. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.